Yo, what's up everybody, it's Victon, here with another build guide. Today we're going to be going over a build I've seen on YouTube and POE.Ninja deemed the Immortal Spider build. An Occultist using Arakali's Fang that has stupid good defenses, 50k armor, 30k evasion, 40-40 block and spell block chance, insane ES and life on kill, which when facing really hard content like wave 25 plus simulacrums, you can literally AFK and survive. Now, I of course did not create this build, I specifically saw this build in general featured on a simulacrum wave 30 video, and I followed his POB while adding in a couple of my own changes. I'm going to of course link his video in the description below, so check that out if you're interested. Yeah, so there's actually a few different popular versions of this build floating around. There's the cheaper version with Aegis Aurora shield that's like a mega uber tank version, which is also Immortal, but it has much less DPS, and the best thing about it though, of course, is that it's pretty cheap too. This version, which is what I am running currently, is kind of in between the three, with it also being Immortal, but having kind of middle ground DPS, somewhere between 12 and 15 million DPS. And then there's the pure DPS build that gets upwards of 25 million, but of course is a little bit less tanky. The uber tanky version will cost you about 30 exalts, my current version is about 140 exalts, and then the pure DPS version is about 140 exalts, and of course if you really min-max this, you can spend even more on any of those versions. That mostly comes from the shield the Squire, which runs for about 105 exalts as of this video. That's why the Aegis Aurora shield version is obviously significantly cheaper, and a great starting point if you guys want to try this build and kind of grind your way up to these big boy versions. So what I've done with this build so far, I'm currently farming wave 30 simulacrums completely deathless the whole way up and making a ton of currency. But it can of course do regular mapping very smoothly. It's actually a really fast mapper. You kind of just run through stuff and everything dies around you from the Occultist pops, which is really nice. I did all the in-game bosses including Cyrus 9, and let me tell you, I actually suck at that fight. I absolutely hate how it was designed, but I have done it deathless on Awakener level 9 all 3 times that I've done it so far, so that's actually saying a lot. Also, I did the Feared run at 70% quantity or so, all of course being deathless runs for basically everything that I've ever done on this character. You can also deep delve with this build, which I haven't done yet, but I absolutely know that you can, just based off of its stats, which is pretty cool, and I do actually want to try that with this build specifically. So honestly, it can do all the content. I would say it's a bit clunky and lacking in the 100% Delirious 14 map, so I guess maybe not all the content, but basically all the content. You can do it, but it's a bit slower DPS level-wise, so I would say that I just haven't done much of that because of that. There's other builds out there that can do it a lot better, so I just have stuck to mainly doing simulacrums. I bet if you're doing about like 100% Delirium, you know, around tier 10 or below, you'd be just fine though. Anyways, I think what it really excels at, like I said, is simulacrum farming, which is what I have been doing a ton, and it's been really good this league. It's super chill playstyle, it's one of the best currency making strats around right now, and this build kind of takes it to the next level. You can literally AFK the first like 80% of all the wave, like up to wave 30, you can probably AFK up to wave 20. You would move around a little bit more if you want to get those, you know, consistent 6 waves, but if you just wanted 5 waves, every single wave, all the way up to wave like 25, you could literally sit in one place, stand there and not move, and just freaking chill out and make currency. It's really cool. I've been having a great time while playing this, and I also plan to play it the next probably 4 to 5 days doing some more simulacrums while I farm some more currency for my next project. Also, I wanted to give you guys an idea of what this guide is going to go over so you can get an idea before you spend time watching it. I've got 2 POBs, mine and the further min-maxed version from that YouTube video linked below, which I mentioned earlier. I think he said he spent around 250x, so definitely min-maxed, which is over 100 more than I did on mine. So if y'all are looking to further min-max, check out his POB for sure. We're going to be going over the skill tree, gem links, and of course gear choices. I'll also show you guys the cheaper Aegis Aurora build choice as well for anyone wanting to start with that cheaper version of the build. It's only about 30x or so, and that's probably even a little bit high for what you're going to spend on it to really get started. If y'all want a more in-depth guide for that, actually just let me know in the comment section and I'll consider doing a full build guide on that one as well. Lastly, I'm actually going to go devote a whole section on playstyle tips because the build is a bit different than most for sure, and it takes a bit of getting used to, so I wanted to give you guys some tips from my experience playing it over the last week. And lastly, before we dive into the passive building, I just wanted to mention that if you're interested in supporting the channel, I also have a Patreon linked below, which is going to give you guys access to my community Discord, where we have a ton of people chatting about builds all day, every day. And I actually do personal build reviews in there all the time as well. Alright, so enough of that, let's hop right into the guide, and feel free to check timestamps below if you want to skip around certain parts of the guide. Alright, here we are in Path of Building, and now what I want to do here specifically in this Path of Building, there's actually a lot of different ways to kind of build this with a certain, like several different items, really make things work, whereas, you know, you can spend a ton more currency and just kind of make it easy peasy, or you can, you know, be kind of tricky with some of the items, and there's several different things that you can do to kind of be tricky. So I kind of want to go over kind of all of those different options and give you guys just like as many options as possible, to where if you want to run this build, if you have, you know, X amount of currency, you can put it into this, you can put it into this to kind of make everything work. And it's going to be a little janky, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. If you really want to see the like the full min max, like just what you want to get, it's definitely going to be that second POB that the that other guy had, and we'll go over that too. But this is kind of my semi janky version. Look at it, it's still, you know, 140x, and it's obviously still doing crazy DPS, it's still doing crazy tankiness, all that good stuff, but we were a little janky with it. So let's go over that. So the tree itself is actually pretty basic. We're really just traveling around to a whole bunch of different spots. We're getting not that much minion damage, certainly not as much as you guys are probably used to. We are getting a ton of reservation. That's actually the biggest thing that we're getting. We're getting as much reservation as possible. We're getting reservation over here. We're getting some here, we're getting some here, and the reason we're doing that obviously is just because we have so many auras that we're running that we need as much reservation as possible. So I would actually not do this build until you're like at least level 90 plus. You can absolutely do spider build, but I would say, you know, do that cheaper Aegis Aurora build until you're at least level 90 plus, and you can spec into this, and you can have enough points to really get to everywhere that you need to in order to, you know, start pumping out the DPS and start having some good tankiness. So yes, you absolutely need all of these reservation nodes in order to make this work. Outside of that, we're going to get a little bit of block chance here. We're going to get a little bit of AoE as well here, which really helps with their melee splash and their clear speed. The feast, not the feast, the 20% increase effect of offerings is pretty big. We are using Spirit Offering, which is giving them just a ton of extra damage, As you can see there, it's 6% more damage, so really good for that. Over here, we just get a little bit of life down there. These nodes right here, these 3 nodes were my last nodes that I picked up. As you can see, this is a level 100 build. These should be probably your last 3, I would say, and maybe even like these 3 and these 3, so that's like level 94 if you didn't have those 3 and those 3, and that's probably pretty reasonable for most people. I think is around level 90 to 94, right? And then once you get to that 94, then you can do those 3 and those 3. Very good. Now, so some of the bigger nodes on the tree here is actually these right here, which most people don't usually get, but we are going to get this. So it's get a little bit of life on kill, right? So we're going to get, what is this, 30 life on kill, but also a little bit of damage recouped as life, which isn't that crazy, right? But the big one here is 3% of life on kill. Now this is actually huge. We're going to couple that with this one over here, which is recover 2% of energy shield on kill. Now the reason this is actually crazy is because when you're doing really tough content, for example the simulacrums, there are so many monsters coming at you that when you kill stuff, your life bar and your energy shield bar is going to go constantly full. Even if you take damage, you're killing so much stuff so fast that you just replenish like nothing. It's crazy, absolutely crazy there, which is pretty cool. And then other than that, it's really just that, right? There's really nothing crazy over here. And then we have some of our cluster jewels. Now these, I think I bought this one for, I think 5x or 6x, somewhere in there. Now this is really important. In order to get a cluster jewel like this, so first off, the reason we're getting cluster jewels like this is just because it's the most damage. We're getting as much attack speed as possible. Ideally, you would also want something like life on there, energy shield on there, or something like that, but those are expensive. Those are 10 to 20 exalts, and I just didn't have that at the time. So the two most important things that you want there, though, are 35% increase effect, which can only roll on eye level 84 plus cluster jewels. Just keep that in mind. So if you're going to try and craft these yourself, you absolutely can. You can probably craft them for around 5 to 8 exalts yourself. I did that last league, and we had, you know, it's pretty easy to do, pretty consistent. You just do alteration spam with regals, pretty easy, and then you get that 35% and you get the 3% increase attack speed. And now the reason we're doing that is because actually that 35% actually makes that 3% turn into a 4%, which is crazy. So each one of these nodes is giving us 4% increase attack speed and also 12% increase minion damage. That's just really good for nodes. That's a ton of damage. And what makes it really crazy is if you can also get life or energy shield on there as well, because there's so many nodes in here, it's going to give you a ton of extra life and energy shield. I don't have those, and my build's doing totally fine, but if you really, if you really wanted to min-max, you absolutely could do. Kelly, that's not what we want here. We want, where are you, Immortal? There we go. Sorry about that. We want as many nodes here as possible, and also, like I said, the life or energy shield if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Also, the 12 passive ones are really expensive. You could get an 11 passive one, and it's like half the cost, so keep that in mind. Again, if you want to min-max, get the 12. If you want to save some currency, get the 11, and you're totally fine. But just make sure it is an eye level 84 plus if you're going to craft it yourself. If you're not, then you can just purchase it, obviously, and be just fine. Here's an example. So this, like I said, this one was about 6 exalts. Here's an example of one that was 2 exalts. This is obviously not as good, right? You only have 12 passives, or I'm sorry, you have 11 passives. Again, you have the 3% attack speed, but I didn't get the 35% increase effect. And this one was only 2 exalts, right? For me, that was totally fine. I'm doing enough damage to clear wave 30s, and I'm happy with it. No problem. But again, that's something that you can do to lower the cost of your of the build if you really need to. Very good. And you want 2 of those. You want 2 of those. But other than that, like the tree is super simple. Down here we do have Divine Shield, which is 3% of physical damage prevented from hits, regenerated as energy shield per second, which is actually pretty crazy because we have so much armor in this build and so much flat physical resistances that we're actually going to regen quite a bit there. So pretty nice little addition right there. Very good. So let's go ahead and talk about the Ascendancy. We are Occultist, and the reason we are Occultist is for a few things. It's a lot of extra damage for sure. Nearby enemies have minus 20 chaos res is very good for us. We're going to do a lot of withered as well with this, and we get a lot of free chaos resistance, which really helps us in gearing out. We have Profane Bloom, which is the biggest thing for sure. So your hexes can affect hexproof enemies, which really only matters in mapping, but even then it's really not that big of a deal, especially for like simulacrums and stuff. That doesn't matter. Here's the big one. Curse enemies of you or your minions is the big one, right? Have 40% chance to explode, dealing quarter of their life as chaos damage, right? So that is absolutely huge. That's how we're getting all of these pops. Sometimes you'll just notice your entire screen go pop, and it's really good for clear speed, especially in simulacrums, because it scales. Like, for example, when you're up to wave 30 of simulacrums, these monsters have so much life that if you kill one of them and they explode, they're gonna kill like the entire pack around them. Really good. And then of course we just get Malediction, which is an additional curse, and enemies you curse have Malediction, which is pretty nice, which is 10% reduced damage, and they take 10% more damage. So pretty solid there. And that's really the only option for Occultists. I would say like most people are going Occultist with this. I've seen some people go Necro. I don't like it. I think Occultist is absolutely the way to go. Most people go Necro for this, usually Unnatural Strength, but just so you guys know, gem levels actually do not affect spiders. Like that actually is doing nothing. So that's why we're really not going Necro. Cool, let's go ahead and move on over to our skills. So, you know what, we actually, before we do our skills, let's go over the shield itself, because it is very important for our skills, right? So the Squire, this is what makes this build expensive. It's 105 exalts as of right now, and it's a chase item for sure, just because of how crazy it is. Basically, it's going to give you a 6 link for your spiders. So you have 3 extra gem slots on there, and they count alongside your weapon, right? So we're going to have, let's take and just so you know, that's the reason we're going to talk about our gems here real quick. And I just wanted to point that out because our 3 sockets in there are going to account for our race spider. So let's find our weapon 2. And it doesn't matter if you put them in your weapon 1 or weapon 2, by the way. So in our shield, we have multi-strike. I did not have enough currency for awaken. If you don't, then just get divergent. I think it's about 1 exalt. And obviously, if you don't have that currency either, just get regular multi-strike. We have awaken minion damage level 5. I just had that for my other build. If you do not have awaken minion damage level 5, you could use regular minion damage divergent, but I think that's pretty expensive as well. I think that's a couple exalts, so just kind of keep that in mind. Awaken melee fizz is very good. It is going to give you guys, where is it? Does it say it right here? No, it doesn't. Oh, it says it right here. So it's 10% chance to intimidate on hit, which is basically 100% of the time they're going to be intimidated because we have so many spiders, which is really good. So that's 10% more melee physical damage. For our weapon 1 here, we have melee splash. We do have divergent, which is a pretty solid extra little bit of damage, and it's going to help with clear speed as well, which equates to DPS. I think it's a little expensive. I think this is the melee splash. Divergent is maybe a couple exalts when I purchased mine, so keep that in mind. We have withering touch here, and we have anomalous, which is increased skill effect duration, which is very, very good for our spiders because it's going to make them stay out a little bit longer, and it's also going to increase their DPS. We have awakened void manipulation as our last link there. Those are our 6 link for our spiders, and that's what really, really ups their DPS this league compared to like last leagues when you didn't have the squire, you only had the 3 link, right? So really, really ups their DPS. Moving on here, we have in our helmet, we have Spirit Offering, Increased Duration, Despair, and Arcanist Brand. So Arcanist Brand is going to be casting our Spirit Offering and our Despair for us, and we have increased duration to make it last a little bit longer. We have in our gloves, we have Flame Dash, Blasphemy, Temporal Chains, and Desecrate. Now, the reason that we're running Blasphemy, Temporal Chains, let's go ahead and go back on over to our amulet, is because of the Solstice Vigil. Your Temporal Chains has no reservation if cast as an aura, which is fantastic for us because, as you can remember, we have a ton of auras that we're running, so we really want to get as much aura reduction as possible. So getting that Solstice Vigil is really important in order to let us do a free Blasphemy Temporal Chains. Now, your Desecrate, like I always say, make sure you keep that at level 1 because it's going to keep the mana cost down as much as possible. So Desecrate level 1. And moving on to our boots here, we have Vol Grace. Oops, there we go. Let's fix that. We have Vol Grace, we have Malevolence, and honestly, you don't even need Vol Grace. I mean, obviously, it's nice to have it, but we have so many buttons that we push in this build that I have actually literally never used Vol Grace. So Grace or Vol Grace, whatever you want to do there. And if you did that, you can actually go up to a regular Grace, which, you know, ups it a little bit. Malevolence, Determination, Discipline. Now, we're actually going to go back to our items here in a second because it's very important. We specifically are putting this in our boots, okay? This is all of our auras in our boots. The reason we're doing that is because we are using a unique pair of boots called the March of the Legion. These are actually pretty cheap. They're only a couple chaos, and I got this with the 80% chance to avoid stun if you've killed recently, which is pretty solid for the build for sure, and I think I picked this up for like an exalt, so pretty cheap. Now, here's the reason this is so crazy, right? So +2 level socketed aura gems, which is nice in itself, right? But socketed gems are supported by level 25 blessing. So what does that mean? Let's go ahead and go in game here, and I'll show you guys. So you'll see that my Discipline, Determination, Grace, and Malevolence are actually not on right now, right? And that's because of that blessing skill, I guess, support gem, I guess you could call it, right? So they're going to reserve auras. It's how do I explain this? It's an aura, but it's like a duration, right? And it actually doesn't fully reserve your mana. It's like a skill. Like, let me just cast one. Discipline, right there. I turn it on, but look, I get all my mana back, right? And now I have a time of, I think, let's see what it is. 25 seconds, okay? So you turn all your stuff on and you get 25 seconds of your auras. So some people might be turned off by that. I personally have never really had an issue with it because you get 25 seconds. It's quite a long time, is 25 seconds. But yeah, so now that's the reason that we're able to run so many auras in this build. Let's see how many auras we run. I think we run 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 auras in this build. That's how we're so tanky, is because of these boots right here. Because we're casting these ourselves. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, done. Now you're good for 25 seconds. Run around, and you're good to go, right? So that's how those boots work specifically. Now, one thing I guess I could point out is the POB for the like uber min-maxed version that I was following, he had an corruption on there, the implicit of another +2 to level of socketed aura gems, which was pretty cool. So he's actually getting +4, which is crazy. That's because it's really, really good, because these are all of our defensive ones basically. So very, very good there. Those are quite expensive. I think they were like 10 exalts plus for those pairs, and I'm sure it'll go up over time as well. Very good. Which one? Yeah, okay. So moving on to the next skill here, we have our actual regular auras. So these are the auras we're actually going to cast ourselves, which will take mana, basically, right? And this is also how we're going to be so tanky. I forgot to mention that earlier, by the way. We are 88% all maximum res, which is crazy. We're almost 90%. We're almost there, but we're not there. So we have Purity of Ice, Fire, Purity of Lightning. We have Defiance Banner, and we have Enlighten level 3 and Tempest Shield. Now, the Enlighten, I did want to mention a couple things. In my Megalomaniac over here, I have Pure Guile. Now, this is what is allowing me to not have to use an Enlighten 4, which is very expensive. Enlighten 4s are like 14 to 15 exalts, whereas Enlighten 3s are a quarter of that price. And I already had an Enlighten 3, so I was like, hell no, I don't want to spend another 15 exalts on an Enlighten 4. So what you could do is get actually any of these. You could get Pure Guile. I think Pure Might is for the Purity of Fire, and then Pure Aptitude is for Purity of Lightning. And that helps us with the mana reservation efficiency for that, and that puts us almost exactly at the place where we don't have to have Enlighten level 4. So keep that in mind. And I did that through a Megalomaniac because I also wanted Enduring Composure, which I've been using in all of my builds so far. And it's just really, really good. It's a lot of extra armor, 30% armor, and gain 1 endurance charge anytime that you've been hit, which is really, really solid. So you're basically going to have max endurance charges all the time, which we eventually will couple with endurance. If you want that, you can have an additional endurance charge right there as well. Very good. Let's go back to our skills here. And again, that's if you want Enlighten level 3. If you already have an Enlighten level 4 or whatever and don't care about that, then you would want to pick a different Megalomaniac that has, you know, something else on there. Or you could just do the Enduring Composure and get like a, I don't know if that's a medium or a small, but get like the actual armor cluster jewel there. That would work as well. Very good. Moving on to our ring 2, we do have 1 unset ring, and we are going to throw our Vol Molten Shell in there. Let's fix this as well. And again, same thing here actually with the Vol Grace. I actually have never used Vol Molten Shell, which I probably should. I just have so many freaking buttons on my bar that I don't have space for that. So I don't use Vol Molten Shell, but you absolutely could. Obviously, if you're using Vol Molten Shell and Vol Grace, you're like beyond Immortal type of thing, right? So pretty solid. But I absolutely do use it for at least the regular Molten Shell, and I'll show you why. I do have it on my left click here, so anytime I just move around, as you can see, it turns on my Molten Shell, or my Molten Shell, and gives me a 3000 damage shield, and it gives me a bunch of extra armor. So pretty solid, pretty solid. Very good, and that is all of your skills. So let's go ahead and move on to the items. Now, we've already talked about a lot of these items, so we'll skip over a few, and we'll talk about the others. Obviously, we're using an Arakali's Fang. That is the spiders. You can definitely do a couple pretty good Krangles on here. For example, like I just had one that's 162 intelligence requirements, which is whatever. We have so much already, and I got some extra free lightning res, so that was pretty nice. The Squire, we talked about that shield already. Ancient Helmet, this is the most DPS option that you can get for sure. This is actually pretty cheap. The Spirit Offering enchant on there as well is only an exalt, so actually pretty cheap for the helmet, and this is the best in slot for damage. For our body armor, this is absolutely what you guys should be using. The Brass Dome, it gives so much armor. It gives you cannot take extra critical strike chance damage, and it also gives you another +5 to maximum all elemental resistances. That's how we're able to hit the 88% on top of our Purity Fire, Lightning, and Ice. So a fantastic defensive option. Obviously, there's some more offensive options, which we'll talk about when we go over some POBs from some other folks. But for defensive wise, this is the best. Now, I would try, and at least if you're trying to min-max, you can get one of those two enchants, or I'm sorry, one of those two implicits there, the either +2 to level socketed AoE gems or Aura gems, and that is going to help out as well. I was able to snag this one for +4, which is pretty cool. Now, moving on to our gloves, this is absolutely crucial to the build. We are going to get grave binds. So this is what is going to allow us to automate summoning our spiders. Nearby enemies killed by anyone count as being killed by you instead. So we don't have to summon our spiders after the first time that we summon them. Now, it's a little bit clunky, and you still will have to sometimes, like for example, if their duration runs out and you just like haven't killed any monsters in a while, then you will have to resummon them again. But overall, it's an absolute no-brainer to get the grave binds. It really is big for quality of life. Now, if you're really trying to min-max, you can also get these with despair on hit. Those are pretty expensive. They're like 12 to 20 exalts. You could try making them yourself with just buying a bunch of grave binds. They're actually super cheap. They're only a couple chaos, and vol orb them and hope that you hit despair on hit. That would be my suggestion. I would not suggest you guys actually purchase it just because it's so expensive. You can make it yourself for probably 5 to 6 exalts in just, valing them, right? But that would be very good. Do not get temporal chains on hit because you do need that as a the blasphemy, right? We cannot blasphemy despair. We have to blasphemy the temporal chain. So don't get temporal chains on hit, get despair on hit if you really want to min-max. Very good. Moving on to the boots, we already talked about the March of the Legions. And like I said, if you want to min-max, you can get a corruption on there for another +2 to level of Aura gems, which would be pretty nice. That would actually be huge for our defenses. For our amulet, this is again a no-brainer. Solstice Vigil. It's going to give us that free temporal chains, and also gives us Shaper Presence for 10 seconds when you kill a rare or unique enemy, which is actually pretty big for us as well. Basically, what that does is it makes your debuffs expire slower. Your buffs expire slower. So remember how earlier I said that these skills last 25 seconds, right? So 25 seconds for discipline. So actually it's longer than that. So once you kill a rare or unique enemy, it slows this down by quite a bit, and you get a lot more time. So you're spending a lot less time having to cast these. So mapping or doing simulacrums, killing rares, killing uniques gives the duration on these even more time, which is pretty nice. So it works out pretty well. For your rings, these are just going to be a lot of resistances and chaos resistance as well. You can obviously try and get some minion damage on there as well, like I had here, but it's not required by any means. Get as much resistances as possible with your rings. Now on the second ring here, I was able to, because I had so much resistance on this first ring, I was able to get away with getting some strength and dex on here. Because we do need quite a bit of strength and we do need quite a bit of dex. You need the 155 dexterity, and you need, I think, 177 dexterity for the brass dome. So keep that in mind. I actually am way over on my strength here, so I don't need as much, but I went ahead and did it anyway, because it gave me actually a lot of extra life. So pretty nice there for the unset ring. This one was super cheap. I think this one was maybe 5 exalts, and this one was like, 20 chaos or something. For our belt, basically what I did here is actually, I got a stat stick, right? I literally got some life, 1 resistance, and dexterity and strength. Now the reason I did that is because eventually I would like to upgrade this to a headhunter, just for not for the damage actually, because we're not going to get any damage to our spiders, but for the defensive buffs that it would give. And again, just further, cementing the whole quote-unquote immortality type of thing. Some of those buffs that you can get from headhunter are insane for defenses, so I think that would be really cool for this build, and in that case I just wanted to prep for it and really not get too much stats on this, so I got dex and I got strength and a little bit of life. And then in our jewels here, you're going to want to have 5 ghastly eye jewels because of our gaze. I never know how to say that word, but it gives a little bit of attributes, which is pretty good. I think it goes up to 10. But it gives minions have 6% damage over time multiplier per ghastly eye jewel effect up to 30%. So that's why you want 5. And this one does count as well. So it's one of the 5. But for your regular jewels here, try and get some life if you can. Try and get The most important one for sure is the minions have increased attack and cast speed if your minions have killed recently, or you can get the flat increased attack speed, also pretty good. Minions deal a little bit of extra chaos damage, is pretty nice. And then also, if you really want to go on top of that, whoop, where did it go? If you really want to go on top of that, let's do, I guess I got to pull this up. Where are you? Immortal Spire, I think I have to actually back out and then go back in. And there it is. Cool. Where were we? Is to get 8% chance to taunt on hit with attacks or the blind or the blind. So if you're able to get one with taunt and one with blind, that is really, really good. Really good. Because you have so many spiders hitting so fast, it's basically everything's going to be taunted and everything's going to be blinded 24/7. So those are examples of what you would want for your regular jewels. For the Megalomaniac, we already talked about that. A Fortress Covenant is pretty good. Now, one thing that I could say here is bleed is a problem in this build for sure. We're so defensive with everything except bleed. So we got to figure out how we deal with bleed. Bleed and Corrupting Blood. You could get a Fortress Covenant with Corrupting Blood immunity on it. I would suggest that. It's only a few exalts. That's not too bad. What I did with mine was I got a Watcher's Eye with it instead. So unaffected by bleeding while affected by malevolence. I also got one with chance to block spell damage while affected by discipline. You could also get one with, just regular attack block a chance while affected by determination. There's actually a ton of really good Watcher's Eyes. There's another Watcher's Eye, which is pretty cool, which is, I think I might have it in my inventory here. This guy right here. Unaffected by bleeding again, but also unaffected by chilled ground while affected by purity of ice. So that's pretty good as well. That would be for those simulacrums because there's so much chilled ground on the ground. Pretty good on that one. Let's go back to this. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, right? There's a lot of the determination ones. There's like additional physical damage reduction if you have determination. There's just flat armor if you have determination. There is a discipline one that gives you increased energy shield regen if you have discipline. So lots of different pretty cool Watcher's Eyes, and they're actually all pretty cheap too. So keep that in mind when you're searching for Watcher's Eyes. But if you don't have a way to deal with Corrupting Blood, then definitely try and maybe get a cheap, this is the cheap out way to do it, unaffected by bleeding while you have malevolence. I literally bought this for 20 chaos. That's much cheaper than buying like a Corrupting Blood implicit Fortress Covenant or the Gaze. Those don't even exist. I think there was like one for 10 exalts, which is just silly. Cool, so that is our jewels. Let's go over our flasks. We have one quartz flask, and this is also to help me with the bleeding, but I don't need this anymore, I guess, technically, since I got that Watcher's Eye. But you definitely want a quartz flask, especially if you're doing simulacrum, because there are so many freaking monsters that you need that phasing to kind of run through stuff. So really important. We have the Rumi's Concoction. Now I do have here used when charges are full, which is really nice to automate the flask. It's going to give us a lot of armor, and it's going to give us a lot of block chance, so really good on that one. We have a Quicksilver's Flask, which I actually prefer than other flasks when I'm doing my simulacrums. Like I said, you can AFK the first like 20-25 waves if you really want to, but after that, or even before that, if you really want like consistent 6 waves, then you do kind of got to move around just to spawn more monsters, right? And if you do that, then it is nice to have the Quicksilver Flask there. We have Taste of Hate just because it is such a good defensive flask, especially in simulacrums because there's so much cold damage going on that it helps our cold defenses and our physical defenses quite a bit. Now, the Withering Jar, we're going to talk about this guy. We actually absolutely need this to start spawning our minions, and I will go in game and show you guys the reason that we need Withering Jar and give you guys a couple tips, right? So, Withering Jar, what does it do? It spawns 2 little wormies that you can then kill to start spawning your spiders, right? So 100% chance to trigger spiders on kill. So here's how you're gonna do it. Very important that you first throw down a bunch of desecrates, okay? Because they can only spawn if they have corpses to desecrate from, or to spawn from. So start by spawning just a ton of desecrates. Then you're going to pop your jar. Bloop. See the little wormies, and then you're gonna flame dash over the wormy. There you go. So I just spawned 4, and now you can desecrate again, and you can pop another one and they're going to kill it there, and then barrier. There you go. I'm at 18 now. Typically you get between 18 and 20 when you do it correctly, and these guys last quite a while. So that's how you do that, and that is why it's very important. As you can see, I actually just gained some charges right there. It's actually really important to get this Pantheon, Soul of Ryslotha. So life flasks gain 3 charges every 3 seconds if you haven't used a life flask recently. As you can see, I am regaining life flasks. You want this to be full as much of the time as possible, because you never want to have a situation where you're out of your life flask and you literally cannot summon your spiders. That would be very bad. Very, very bad. So literally getting this is an absolute lifesaver. As well as the this one here, I got my large here as Soul of the Brine King, cannot be frozen. There's a couple options here you can do. Again, if you have different ways of becoming not frozen, like maybe you can do a quartz flask with freeze immunity and use when you become frozen. You could drop this and you could get, which is the one, I think this is the one. Yep, so you would get Soul of Linares, because again, this is going to help out with physical damage reduction, because you're going to get the full 8% because you're AFK so much. But also avoid projectiles that have chained is really nice. There's several good ones on here. And the 6% reduce elemental damage taken if you've been hit recently is also really good. So quite a few good options on that one. So you gotta get this one, or you get this one. Cool. Let's go back here. I think that actually covers it for all of our POB stuff. As you can tell, I have 13.3 million DPS. We've got about 50-50 block chance. We've got 54,000 armor, and we've got 22,000 evasion. What else is important on here? That's probably pretty much it. We can go over to our configuration, show you there's no shenanigans. We use endurance charges. You'll be full on endurance charges 24/7. Have you killed recently? Again, your grave binds toggle this, so yes, you're always going to have killed recently because your spiders are killing. Have your minions killed recently? It's literally the same thing. Have you used a minion skill recently? That's going to be from your desecrate, which you're casting all the time. Number of spiders, you're always going to have 20 is your max. And that's pretty much it. We're going to go over here to withered stacks. We're going to have constant max withered stacks, so you're always going to have constant 15. Blinded, like I said, that's from the jewel. Intimidated is from awakened melee physical damage. And then is the enemy a boss? Cyrus. So no shenanigans. That is the legitimate DPS. And then the 88% and then 75% chaos. Cool. That is the POB itself. Let's see. What do we want to do? Let's go over. Let's just go ahead and go check into the game. What I actually want to do is run a map for you guys. And what I'll do is I will show you guys kind of how I operate in a map, because like I said, it's kind of funky, it's kind of weird to get used to, but I wanted to show you guys so you can kind of see like what a typical map looks like, right? So you start off all the maps with just desecrating, desecrate, and then you're gonna pop one of your withering jars. You're gonna kind of position yourself and you're gonna kill it. Right now we're good to go. Now you start doing all of your auras and you start running around. So now we're good for 15-20 seconds. Let's see when we kill a rare, and I'll show you guys. Where's the rares? Give me a rare. There's a rare. So okay, so there you go. Now you can see that all of these turn blue. They're taking more time to kind of tick down, so we're actually getting better use out of it, which is pretty cool. So okay, let's go move on to our next pack. So I always cast Desecrate on pretty much all the packs just to get the maximum number of spiders to spawn. I never want my spiders to like not be, around. I don't want them ever to go away. I want them constantly up, and it's like no mana, so I just cast that, no problem. Now it's important, of course, to occasionally use your Arcanist brand, because that's going to get your Spirit Offering, which is a ton of damage. Spirit Offering is mad damage, so we absolutely want that, right? And it's also going to cast your Despair for like especially better on like bosses and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, this is what it would normally look like. I mean, you're just running through stuff and stuff is dying, right? Obviously, I'm kind of talking to you guys, and it's a little bit slower than what I would normally do, but what it normally looks like. And see, look, so I just lost 16, right? So I'm going to Desecrate real quick, and I'm going to pop a Withering Jar, and it's going to kill stuff. There you go. Now I'm back up to 20. So that's kind of how that works. If I ever notice that I've dropped a little bit of my dudes, I'll do some Desecrates, and I'll pop my Withering Jar, just to make sure that we're always up 100% of the time, and we have the 20. But as you can tell, pretty chill gameplay. If I wanted to, I could just stand here and nothing. Look at this. So you can see that my I have bleed. What was that? Oh, I actually don't know what that was. I wonder if I was standing in something. So that actually is a good point. That is something that has been all the time scary for builds that are like aura stackers, right? And I wonder if, I don't know if it's a bug or if it's intended, but when you're aura stacking, you actually take a ton of damage from damage over time for whatever reason. I'm guaranteeing that I was probably in some type of damage over time there. Even if it's a physical damage over time, which we have crazy armor against, right? That actually does nothing to our damage over time from physical damage. So you take a buttload of damage from that. So just note that if you are ever AFKing standing still, I'm actually glad that that happened because I want to give you guys this tip. If you're ever AFKing standing still and you start taking mad damage, just move. It's probably a damage over time that is underneath you, whether it be cold or usually physical is the one that really hurts you. So just move out of the way and you should be good to go. Well, so let's kind of keep clearing. We'll go to the, I guess we can just go to the boss real quick. It's right down here. Very good. As you can tell, I just desecrated quite a bit. I'm just going to make sure that they have the max duration here. I'm going to throw up some Arcanist brands and just kind of chill. And done. Easy peasy. Cool. So let's go ahead and go back to our hideout. So now what I want to do, now that I have showed you guys some tips, I think that's probably all you need to know for the tips. It's really just the fact that, you know, desecrate, 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 pop your jar, and then use flame dash. Oh, I can't see them because of my hideout. Where are you, wormies? There you go. And that's how you spawn your dudes. And the fact that you absolutely need the Soul of Rice Lotha to make sure that you're always getting flash charges for that. So what I wanted to do next is actually show you guys some POB or POE.Ninja stuff. This is the cheaper version, so if you wanted to do an Aegis Aurora, I wanted to show you guys some options for that. As you can tell, 71% of these Aegis Auroras people are on Guardian, and 23% are on Occultist. I would probably say, like, if you have the intention of eventually, you know, using the Occultist build that I'm doing right now, just start on Occultist so you don't have to re-level another character, right? But if you don't mind leveling another character, Guardian is probably the better choice from a pure defensive standpoint, because it is way more defensive. As you can tell, these guys have, like, you know, 7,000 plus energy shield, whereas the Occultists we're only chilling at like 4,000, 5,000, 2,000, 3,000. So you're just way more tanky with the Guardian. Here's a couple different examples of what you can expect to do from the cheaper version, right? So the biggest thing, of course, is the Aegis Aurora shield, and basically the reason this is crazy is because you replenish energy shield by 2% of your armor when you block. This guy has 91,000 armor, so almost double the armor that we have in our build. So anytime that he's blocking, he's doing a ton of energy shield per second, or not per second, he's doing a ton of energy shield regained immediately, which is fantastic. And he has, like I said, he's got 5,000 energy shield. So anytime that he blocks, he's almost regenerating full energy shield, which is crazy. And he's max block as well, so max spell block and max attack block. This guy is also running the Sentinels of Purity for a little bit extra damage. The Shaper's Touch with Despair on hit. I think those are relatively not too expensive. If you don't want Despair on hit, you could just get regular Shaper's Touch for like literally a couple chaos. Rainbow Strides, which is fantastic. The extra chance to block spell damage there. Now, the Skin of the Lords is really good for that 100% increased global defenses. That's how he's getting so much armor there. And then I guess he went with a Sentinel of Purity helmet as well, and of course the Arakali's Fang. And the Darkness Enthroned is another good option that I could have done myself as well, but I chose to go with one that had, the strength and the deck so I could prepare for Headhunter. But the Darkness Enthroned is definitely the more DPS option, and I like the Kringle that he has on here. Life Last, gain 1 charge every 3 seconds, which is pretty cool as well. So that is his build. For the Occultist version, it's pretty similar. I thought this one was pretty cool as well. I've seen a few people do this with the Viridi's Veil, which is pretty cool, just to make it even more tanky as well, because the Viridi's Veil, you're hexproof, and you take no extra damage from critical strikes. So kind of the same thing as having the Brass Dome, which is pretty cool. And everything else is pretty similar here. You got the Grave Binds, and then you have the Stampede Boots, which is another option just to get that extra anoint. So pretty cool. And I think this guy was relatively similar. Yep, relatively similar. He just went with also the Skin of the Lords for that 100% increased global defense. And he did the Stampede as well. So, and I'll link these in the description just so you guys can see kind of some other options that you can do. But these are obviously like way cheaper, way cheaper than the build that I'm running, and it's really only because of the Squire. The Squire is so expensive, the 105 exalts, but it ups your damage so much. It's like it more than doubled the DPS once you're able to get that Squire. So it just kind of depends on what you want. If you're fine with a little bit less DPS, but being even more tanky than what I am, which I'm already incredibly tanky, then you would want to get the cheaper version, which is the Guardian or this one. But if you want the more DPS version, save up that currency, get the Squire. It's absolutely worth it. It's a crazy shield. It's a super awesome chase unique item as well. So super cool. All right, guys, I think that pretty much covers it. I'm not going to go over that guy's build specifically, the POB. I'm going to link it in the description because I think we already talked about, you know, some of the differences in his items when I was chatting about. This video is already pretty long. But yeah, like I said, if you're interested in the Mega Min-Max version, check out his POB, which will be linked in the description. And whoever you are out there, man, you had an awesome build. I like it. I've been having a great time playing it, and I wanted to share it with even more people. But yeah, that's all I got on this one, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next one.